Good. How are you?
Excellent. So, Manny Jacinto, coming off the third season of The Good Place, where you play the lovable Jason Mendoza. I'm Kevin Jacobsen, writer at Gold Derby, here to ask Manny, first of all, what did you think of Jason becoming a more selfless and just kind of overall good person in season 3?
I loved. I think I give the biggest props to the writers and Mike, because in the wrong hands, this character can become very flat and one-sided. Just watching all the characters, not just Jason, like we all continue to evolve and we continue to play around things that we've never been able to play with and stretch our muscles in different ways. And it was honestly such a pleasure to be able to give him a bit more of growth this season. And I mean, I don't know how much growth, but at least you see a bit of growth, and you kind of see definitely more loyal and a more emotional Jason in the later seasons. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I also wanted to get into his relationship with two different characters. First of all, there's Tejani, who was Jason's soulmate that originally in The Good Place, and they've kind of been on and off again ever since. And here in season 3, they hook up again. They get married. She helps him with Donkey Doug, and she helps him explore his feelings with Janet, which, by the way, one of the best lines of the season is where Jason says, "It's nice to know I can talk about girls with my wife." So what do you think? Do you think there's something about Tejani that just draws Jason in again and again?
I think with that friendship, for one thing, it's it's incredible that a guy like him can score, a model giraffe like him. But I think he's just, he's kind of, I think his heart just appeals to Tejani, and I think they've just created a friendship where really just talk about anything. And it's so weird because it's such a weird dynamic. You have like this kid from Florida who, has no sense of fashion or completely oblivious, and you have Tejani who has everything under control, and she's so extravagant and beautiful. And I think maybe at the end of the day, opposites attract, and that kind of attraction brought them together. And the fact that there's also not a lot to choose from in the neighborhood, so maybe that played into it. But also, I think at the end of the day, it's just maybe Jason's kind heart and Jamila's willingness to look at herself and be open to more crazy things that kind of brought them together. Yeah.
And then of course we have Janet. And I think the show has explored a lot of the reasons that Janet can kind of be drawn to Jason. And I did talk to Darcy Carden a few weeks ago, and she said, it's not necessarily what he knows or doesn't know. It's about kind of how he makes her feel. So what do you think Jason sees in Janet?
I love that relationship, because from the beginning, I really studied it and tried to see what made it work. And what it came down to was the fact that Darcy is this being that knows absolutely everything in the universe. And then you have Jason that knows absolutely nothing. But they both have, like, Jason has this ability he has an impulsiveness about him, and he's willing to take risks and just be himself and like take the jump, whereas Janet doesn't necessarily have that. And just through that interaction, they're evolving in different aspects of their personalities, if that makes sense. Jason is becoming less selfish, and he's more cognizant of things because of Janet. He's starting to be more mature and take on more responsibilities. And Janet is learning to loosen up and have fun. And through Jason, it sounds ridiculous, but she's learning to have like anger or jealousy, or like learn to how to be passive aggressive. And it's just this fun dynamic. And I think the fact that they're able to kind of and raise each other is the reason why it works.
Well, going off that a little bit, I also wanted to ask about the Janet's episode where you all go into Janet's void and Darcy Carden plays versions of you and Eleanor and Chidi and Tejani. So what did you think of Darcy's impression of Jason?
I mean, I think Darcy has mentioned that one of the out of all, and I think I'm happy about this. That out of all of the characters that she was able to play, she had the most fun with Jason, and she definitely nailed that character. That's for sure. And she's like in sweatpants, like she's in the most comfortable outfit that you can ever imagine in that show, and it definitely gave her. I think it also helped her just because Darcy is such a goof and a bit more through that Jason character, through that Jason Janet character, which is crazy.
Oh, well, you had a big episode this season, which was the wonderfully titled The Ballad of Donkey Doug, where you head back to Jacksonville to visit your father, Donkey Doug, and help him build a better life. But it kind of becomes clear to Jason and everyone that it's just not going to happen. And so he works on helping out his friend Pillboy instead. So just tell us about the experience of working on that episode in particular.
I mean, it's like for one thing, it's super rare to have like Filipinos specifically in a scene all together, where they're not really talking about their culture or speaking their language, and they're just kind of three dudes hanging out. So that was like, that in itself was incredible to me. That we were able to just play around and be goose, but that energy in that room, it's funny because Mitch hasn't done too much. And he was able to bring so much to that character, and he was so prepared that we were able to just really play with him. And then whenever I get in a room with Eugene, we love to just fool around and then just improv and have so much fun. So having all three of those characters in one small living room was it was a lot of energy, and it was just a lot of fun. And it was kind of just like, I don't know, hanging out with a bunch of dudes back in the day. It was in a much more heightened circumstance, and we got to just play pretend and have fun. It was incredible. It was such a great time.
Well, speaking more broadly about Jason, there's this level of confidence he has where he does not feel self-conscious about asking like a stupid question, and he has just like this childlike innocence about him. And I was just curious if any of that sort of positive energy and curiosity that Jason has kind of rubbed off on you in your own life.
And personally, I think if I were to choose a character that I relate to more, it would be Chidi. Like I'm definitely more thoughtful and a little bit more tense and anxious sometimes. And with Jason, it's let me be more loose and just kind of like going with the flow and knowing at the end of it's just an adventure, it's just a ride. And I think that's the biggest thing that Jason's taught me, it's to just have fun, especially throughout this whole process, because I think especially in the beginning, in the first and second season, I know that I was always very concerned about doing a good job and impressing producers and keeping my job and not getting fired. And you can have that bearing weight on you. But I guess a positive thing about playing Jason is that he knows how to have fun, and he remembers to have a good time, and that's definitely helped me throughout this whole journey of this Good Place story to remember to have fun and to know that it's just an adventure at the end of the day.
I love that. Yeah. Well, so much like Jason, you have this dancing background, and I was wondering how maybe that passion for dance shifted into acting, whether all those years as a dancer have kind of informed how you carry yourself kind of as an actor now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely doing auditions and kind of learning the industry, a lot of the practices and that I learned through dance, I incorporated it through acting, like whether it be in the audition room or on set, like that sense of preparedness and to be, so prepared that you can let it go on the day and just have fun and like kind of just it's almost like something else takes over. Like in dance, it's like the music takes over and you just let go to the music. And with acting and in TV and film, it's almost you just let the words kind of take over and you let the story take over and you kind of immerse yourself into this whole scene and you see what happens. And I think the mistakes and like the spontaneity of it all is kind of what's exciting for me and also for the audience to see, because there's definitely a lot of moments where some mistake happens and the director will love it and then we'll keep it and then we'll keep rolling through that. It's I don't think I'd be here right now without having danced and having been a dancer. So a lot of credit to that life.
Yeah. Well, you guys at The Good Place, you're on an interesting path, I think, because a lot of times we see shows that debut big, they have a lot of buzz, they get a bunch of Emmy nominations, and then we start to see all that gradually calm down and really decrease. Whereas what's happening with The Good Place is it seems like you started somewhat small, and then over the past year or two, you just keep building buzz, getting nominations, and now it seems like you're kind of hitting your stride a little bit. It's kind of the same path that some real classic shows like Seinfeld and Everybody Loves Raymond and even like a drama like Breaking Bad went through. So what has that journey kind of been like to get to this point and where it seems like you're getting more and more attention and accolades every single year?
I think that's kind of what we were counting on. Like in the beginning, we kind of knew that it'd have to be a build, and we'd have to kind of build our audience at first. Like obviously we had like the Ted Danson fan base and the Kristen Bell fan base, but at the end of the day, there's so many shows out there, and you gotta really prove to people that you have something that's worth watching and worth paying attention to. Now, I think a lot of that, has to do with just the fact that we go through so much story and that we take, like, this show only has 13 seasons, 13 episodes, 13 seasons, I wish, 13 episodes. So there's a lot of preparedness that's involved, and there's a lot of time where there's lots of time to kind of think through what will happen for the next season. Whereas I feel like in shows that have 22 or 24 episodes in a year, there could be a lot of fluff. But these guys have compacted it all into one really quick season per year, and all the story, there can't really be any fluff. It all has to be meat. And I think that's kind of what separates us with a lot of the comedies that are out there. And we just have a lot of fun. I think that comes into play as well. And when you mix fun and a lot of hard work, it's great things come, I feel. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, last year you had a small role in Bad Times at the El Royale, the great Drew Goddard film. And Drew Goddard, of course, directed the pilot of The Good Place and the episode Dance Dance Resolution. So how'd you kind of get involved in that? And also, what was it like kind of just working with him on a feature film?
It was funny because with Drew, he was shooting in my hometown in Vancouver. We were in our hiatus, and I'm the type that really just likes to learn. That really likes to sorry, one second. That really likes to just prove that they're worthy of a role. So I never told Drew that I was auditioning for his film. At the end of the day, I wanted to just show to casting and to Drew that I could do the role. So I submitted my tape, and then I think I never heard from him for about a month or so. And I was like, you know what? Thanks, Drew. Thanks for looking out. I thought I didn't get it. And he didn't. I didn't hear from him for about a month or so. And then I think it was during Christmas, he emailed me out of nowhere, and he was like, "How dare you not tell me that you auditioned for my movie?" And he was like, "I loved your tape. I loved everything that you did. I was in Vancouver at this time, and and he was like, I'm in Vancouver right now. Are you here? Like, we could go for lunch and talk about the movie and see if you're still interested. And then through that, we kind of were able to connect, and he told me about the role. And then just being a part of that movie is ridiculous because, I've never been able to be a part of something of that scale. And also like getting to work with Jeff Bridges, who's a complete legend. Like he's almost just as nice as Ted Danson, and Chris Hemsworth was very giving as well, and just that whole group of people was a very kind family, which I was very lucky to be around and to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of legends, I know you're also filming with the new Top Gun movie.
Yeah.
And so just kind of going off that, what are the types of projects that interest you that you might be able to do now that your profile has kind of been raised by the show?
I mean, at the end of the day, I always tell people who ask me the question of what's next is, anything other than Jason Mendoza at the end of the day. I mean, I love Jason. He's always going to be a part of me, but I'd like to stretch my muscles a little bit. And like, whether it be a Marvel film in that world, or whether it be like an A24 indie project, like at this point, there's, as long as it's a great story and that I resonate with it, I'm happy to be on board. But yeah, I think kind of that's kind of what I have in my sights, like either a big kind of franchise film or a little like kind of indie that can really make an impact in like the film festival circuit would be amazing. But we'll put it out there.
Yeah,
positive.
Love to see it. Yeah. So as we wrap up, Manny, is there anything that you can tease for season 4 of The Good Place?
Oh man, let's see, what can I tease? Season 4 of The Good Place. I mean, like it's this actually coming back full circle. Like your first question was about how Jason is getting more in touch with his emotions. And also, like in the last season, we really got a taste for kind of like the deeper relationships amongst the characters, and it really pulled the heartstrings. And I think what I can kind of hint is, I mean, not only are we gonna have all the jokes and all the twists and turns, but we're definitely gonna try and pull some more heartstrings at the end of this season. And yeah, that's kind of all I want to say. I don't want to spoil too much, but I think I'd like to end it with this, and it's just that what Mike. I think the great thing about Mike's shows is that not only are his shows funny, and not only are the stories compelling, but he really makes the audience and the fans care about the characters, because he makes them so well rounded and gives them some sort of emotion behind them, and it's not just superficial jokes. And I think at the end of the day, you're really going to care and want some characters to kind of like stick around, or to kind of I don't know. I can't reveal too much, but it's going to be an emotional ride. If anything, it'll be a funny, twisty turny, but also emotional ride. I think that's kind of what it comes down to for this 4th season.
I'm very intrigued. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Manny, and best of luck for you and the show at the upcoming Emmys.
Thank you.
Yes. And for everyone else, please hit subscribe to see even more Emmy season interviews, and head to goldderby.com to make some awards predictions.